Welcome to the Irish Farmers Journal Weekly Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. I'm Thomas Hubert, news correspondent with the Irish Farmers Journal. Coming up on the show today, a family day at the Mart on Bank Holiday Monday.
I brought 5 weanlings and 2 cows.
And how did you get on with them?
Good.
And what if your farm could produce more than food?
We're trying to valorise higher value out of the materials whilst keeping in place, of course, principles like food first, the food and feed system that's available in Ireland, and look at the opportunities that may be there for bio-based materials such as materials going into textiles, chemicals, or I suppose beyond that then ensuring the use of these materials maybe ultimately then ending up in providing bioenergy.
But first, let's join my colleague Hannah Quinn Mulligan at this Wednesday's IFA National Council. The association's representatives were in Dublin to lobby politicians on farmers' needs, and Hannah first asked IFA President Joe Healy about his message on the Common Agricultural Policy.
Well, the importance of CAP is it's a way of getting 1.8 billion euros worth of money into this country, into rural Ireland. We've seen studies done by Professor Alan Rennick in UCD that there's a multiplier effect of €4.28 for every euro that's given in support to the livestock sector. That's, what we need for rural Ireland to generate business, to generate employment and to keep rural Ireland alive. So that's what highlights the importance of it today. And I think, to get the message across that CAP has been incredibly successful for farmers and non-farmers. And by way of example, I say that in the 1960s when CAP was introduced to guarantee an adequate amount of safe, top quality food at affordable prices. At that time, across Europe, there was an average of 30% of the average household income was being spent on food. Today, because of CAP, they have plenty food, top quality food at affordable prices, and there's only between 9 and 12% of the average household income being spent on food. So CAP has been of benefit not only to farmers but to the non-farmer as well. And I think it's crucial that we get that message across to all our politicians today. We've at European level met with Commissioner Oettinger and Commissioner Malmström and Commissioner Katainen and our own Commissioner Hogan as well. We've met with our Taoiseach, our Minister for Agriculture and whoever needs to be met. But the politicians on the ground today is a great opportunity for them to fully realise the importance of CAP to Irish agriculture and to the rural economies throughout our country.
Now, we know the IFA position is to increase CAP funding, but also you mentioned Commissioner Gunther Oettinger there, the Budget Commissioner, who has cited cuts of 5 to 10% he says are sensible. I mean, how do you feel about that?
We don't accept it, and we can't. And we've met with Commissioner Oettinger, and we put that very clearly to him and to any other politicians at European level, that they cannot allow a situation to happen where countries who remain loyal to the EU, such as Ireland, are worse off or penalised as a result of a country who decides to leave the EU. So the ball is very much in our politicians and our negotiators' court to show their loyalty back to us as farmers and back to us people throughout Europe, that they appreciate the support that we're giving the European Union dream or vision or whatever you want to call it. And I think that we have heard him speak about, we've talked about 1.2 increasing the budget to 1.2 of GNI. At the last time we met him, he spoke about 1.1x. Whatever the X, wherever that lands, whether it's 1.10 or 1.19. But that's what needs to be done. We've also highlighted very clearly that any new initiatives, whether you talk about migration, defence, security, that has to come from new money. The CAP budget cannot be raided to support new initiatives.
I'm Imelda Walsh. I'm North Tipperary IFA chairperson for North Tipperary.
And Imelda, we're talking about CAP today. I mean, what would you like to see and what would farmers in your area like to see in the next CAP?
Hannah, we need to see an increase in the budget. We need to get from 1% of the GNI to 1.2%. We all appreciate the last time we were in recession and everything else and the budget was cut. But now that the economies have turned around, I think it's time the farmers got their fair share and the budget has to be increased.
Is that realistic, though? I mean, we've heard the Budget Commissioner Gunther Oettinger say that there's going to be cuts whether we like it or not. I mean, different scale of cuts. He's saying now maybe 5 to 10%.
We don't accept that, Hannah. We're saying the budget has to be increased. At 36 cents a day per EU citizen, the CAP provides cheap, sustainable food produced at the highest quality standards. So, Hannah, I think it's a must with saying that. We saw it during Storm Emma. We saw the shelves in the supermarket, the shelves that were empty, produce produced by farmers. So, Hannah, to this end, with saying that the budget has to be increased. Farmers have to get the fair share. We cannot be expected to work for nothing.
You mentioned there about Storm Emma, and this spring in particular has been tough on farmers. How is it in your area at the minute on farms?
It's extremely challenging, Hannah, with saying that grass growth obviously is nil. Huge problem arising now in relation to shortage of fodder. Cow numbers have increased substantially, pressure on housing, pressures to get stock out, weather conditions aren't allowing that. We saw even as late as last weekend a return of the bees from the east, putting more pressure, frozen pipes, in addition to the labour. And obviously the labour shortage in itself is causing huge difficulties as well.
Among the politicians taking part in the event were Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald and the party's agriculture spokesperson Martin Kenny. Hannah first asked Deputy MacDonald about her views on CAP.
Well, I think there's always been a struggle to get CAP right in the first instance to sustain farmers, particularly family farms, smaller farms, farming in more challenged areas. But there's no doubt that Brexit is a game changer all round for Ireland North and South, and not least for farming and for agribusiness. So there will be a hole in the budget. The question is being posed by the IFA quite legitimately, how does that get filled? Why should Irish farming and Irish farmers and rural Ireland more generally suffer because of a decision of Britain, or more correctly England, to exit? So there's a challenge here. I think there's a double challenge because farming in the north is in an even more uncertain position. They only have guarantees, such as they are for Westminster, up to 2020. And then beyond that, it's unknown. So I think farming north and south are at a unique moment where they need to work together to put pressure on all of the players concerned, Dublin, London, the EU, because CAP has been, whatever the criticisms and the shortcomings, is now part and parcel. It's part of the fabric that actually sustains farming in Ireland. So the monies have to be found. The question is from where. And we need to figure out if Britain is insistent on dragging the North out of the European Union, if they don't go along with what we call special status and keep the North within the customs union and the single market, well then what happens next? And what happens next to farming? And wouldn't it be a terrible thing if if farmers, particularly who identify themselves as unionist, were to find themselves in a position where, adherence to the union destroys not just their farms but a way of life. Anyway, that's probably a very long answer, but it's a big challenge. We're delighted to be here. This is our man, our agriculture spokesperson, Martin Kenny. Of course, Martin's from up around Leitrim, so... And
Martin, I have a question for you, because I do see your name regularly coming up in the Dole PQs as well. But I've just been told by the department in relation to the fodder scheme that 9 applications have been submitted, 3 from Roscommon, 6 from Donegal, and yet farmers are under continuing pressure because of weather regarding fodder. I mean, where do you stand on that?
I mean, the scheme that was put together was just a ludicrous idea of how to do it. They didn't work it out clearly to do something that would work for the farmers. They put all kinds of complications into it. All farmers wanted was something simple, and they haven't got that. And really it's down to this thing again, as to how do you put a scheme together? You go and you ask the farmer what they want and you deliver them that, and you make sure that it can't be abused. That's all the government needed to do, but they went down a different track, which hasn't worked up to now. And clearly the evidence now is that they need to go back and rethink it and do it properly.
That was Sinn Féin TD Martin Kenny ending this report by Hannah Quinn Mulligan. Stay tuned. After this break, we're going to the Mart.
This week's Irish Farmers Journal has important information for all farmers. In our BPS Focus supplement, we've a step-by-step guide on how to complete your single farm payment application online. Plus, find out when and where the department's BPS clinics will take place in your county, and how to avoid making common mistakes that could cost you money. And in Irish Country Living, don't miss your free 28-page Easter food magazine with mouth-watering recipes to surprise your family inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal, on sale today. You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast.
This Bank Holiday Monday, Killmallock Mart was a bit different. Hannah Quinn Mulligan was there, and she found that the festive atmosphere of St. Patrick's weekend and the time off day jobs and schools made the weekly sale a true family outing.
I'm Owen and I'm from Rough.
And have you been enjoying the Mart today? It's the bank holiday in Killmallock.
Yeah.
Because you got a day off school, is that it?
Yeah.
And did you bring any cattle with you? You're here with your dad?
Yeah.
So how many did you bring and what did you bring?
I brought 5 weanlings and 2 cows.
And how did you get on with them?
Good.
Okay, so what about your dad here? Dad, what's your name and how are you getting on today?
George Murnan from Brough. We're selling Wainlin, Frisian Wainlin bullocks and cull cows. So we sold them anyway. Not too bad considering the weather and silage supplies, I suppose. And it's 7 mouths less to be fed at home. So I suppose it's a bonus.
I think everyone's kind of in that boat at the minute. But it's a bank holiday, and would you have come here, say, with your family on a bank holiday going back a few years?
Yeah, I suppose years ago when you were in school, it's the only chance to get to the Mart was bank holidays, or we've probably less business here during the summer, so it's Easter and Patrick's weekend or whenever the bank holidays fall. Sure, it's where to go on a bank holiday to meet people.
And there's another man here. What's your name?
My name is Thomas Barry from Harbourstone.
Not too far away from me.
No.
I'm from near Croom, actually, so near Manister.
Right,
we're
all
all in the same neck of the woods. Yeah. We are. And how are you getting on today?
Okay, we were selling some calves, Frisian calves. They're not a particularly good trade at the moment.
They were making as low as €1 in Cashel Mart, I heard.
Well,
not
I
so
don't know
long
about
ago.
the €1, but generally you'd want a good Frisian calf to make more than €100.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are selling Frisian calves now quite young, maybe 2 to 3 weeks of age, and obviously they're not going to be very big, and hence they're not making much money. But I suppose it's all got to do with labour and time, and people haven't got the help, and they have to get rid of them, and that's the story.
You touched upon the weather there. I mean, it's been a tough old couple of weeks for farmers. How's it been going with silage and weather? And
well, I think everyone is in the same boat. We're all hoping the weather will get milder and get a bit warmer and things start growing. There's little or no growth at the moment, and silage is getting scarce with everybody. And it's been a long winter because we had a bad back end, and we've had it's looking like we're going to have a late spring, and I think it's reflecting with the price of stock, because people are not going to buy any stock if they have a problem with silage. But at the moment, people just want to get grass growing, get cows out and cattle out and calves. But at the moment, it is very hard to get animal out, for many days.
Last but not least, we have one man here in a dairy master hat. So you're going to grow up to be a dairy man. Is that what's going to happen? Yeah. And what are you going to have? Are you going to have Frisians? Are you going to have jerseys? What are you going to have? Frisians. And how many are you going to have?
100.
100. Nice round number.
Yeah, nice
yeah, you can manage that. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for chatting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Oh my God, you carry it all now. Ethan Men's at Leinster for you.
Oh, we answered all your questions. You probably ask it to both at the same time. Okay, have you actually phone? No, honey.
That's super. Thank you.
Easy.
Yeah.
We'll have 10 all together, honey. Thank you very much.
Philip O'Sullivan, and we're in the Mart in Killmallock.
And it's a busy day because we're inside the kitchen here.
It's a busy day because it's very cold.
Is that it? So what's it like on a bank holiday Monday? We've got lots of dinners being served to farmers at the minute.
Yeah, the bank holiday is very popular, not only for the farmers but for families as well to come out to the Mart. There's stalls here, and it's a fun day.
What's the most popular dish on the menu today?
Oh, it's always bacon and cabbage.
Always?
Yeah, that's always the most popular, yeah.
And what about desserts then? Do farmers have a sweet tooth?
They go mad for desserts, yeah. Rice pudding and an apple tart.
Okay, well, let's get back to it because you're very busy. Well, thanks very much.
No problem. Okay.
So, all right.
He's here. He's been here. We're Francis Horan, Ballyhea.
Oh, okay. And there are a number of children around us. How many are yours? Which ones?
3 only. There's only 4 here altogether. There's 3 mine. So.
And you brought them here for the bank holiday. Did you come here yourself as a child?
No, they wanted to come, so
okay.
that's why we came down. They were meeting their friends here, actually, so that's the reason why we're down here at all.
Okay.
So,
And you've had your bacon and cabbage or whatever, so you're well set up for the day.
yeah, dinner got.
Dinner got. Okay.
We hope that you're enjoying this Irish Farmers Journal podcast. Find out more at farmersjournal.ie.
Last week, An Taoiseach Leo Varadkar published a national policy document on the bioeconomy. It may sound very far from your farm, but it signals the government's intention to bring together all the people and businesses working to extract more value out of the plants and animals we produce in Ireland, as well as our waste. To find out more, I met Patrick Barrett of the Research Division of the Department of Agriculture at the annual conference of the Composting and Anaerobic Digestion Association. I suppose we were used in the farming sector to big strategy documents and policy documents like this. We're familiar with Foodwise 2025. How is this one different? What's in it and what is it about?
To start off with, the bioeconomy policy statement is something slightly different than a strategy. It's a higher level document, and what it is doing is examining the bioeconomy, which is the materials, biological materials that are available from agriculture, forestry, the marine, the waste sector, wastewater, etc. And I suppose we're trying to valorise higher value out of the materials, whilst keeping in place, of course, principles like food first, the food and feed system that's available in Ireland, and look at the opportunities that may be there for bio-based materials, such as materials going into textiles, chemicals, or I suppose beyond that then ensuring the use of these materials maybe ultimately then ending up in providing bioenergy. So it's a new economic opportunity that's matched into trying to improve our environmental sustainability, deal with trying to decarbonise the economy, and ultimately trying to add to the opportunity for rural and regional jobs growth and investment. So it's a systematic effort to try and deal with a lot of the challenges that primary producers and processors face in addressing the sustainability of the system.
So you're talking about a wide range of economic sectors there under what we could call the bioeconomy. How is this policy going to be implemented? How to bring all those people together?
Well, I suppose that was one of the key needs, or the why around why this statement has been put in place, because there's numerous sectors, and one of the first efforts is that we need to bring together these groups. We need to get a cross-sectoral analysis of how Ireland should develop the bioeconomy opportunities beyond the bioeconomy that we already have. And what we have seen now is that science and technological development are offering new opportunities that need to be considered, and we need to see how we engage with all the different actors in all the different sectors. So the statement has a number of different actions within there, and first of all it asks us to, the bioeconomy policy statement, to be considered by all the different sectoral areas that we've just discussed. Beyond that then set up a network on a forum. Beyond that then trying to take research and innovation that's in place and being funded not only through the Irish government but through the EU research and innovation funding system, and try and bring this to the market. Beyond that then trying to deal with, I suppose, smart regulatory approaches to deal with obstacles and barriers as to why this, in the main, dealing with side streams and byproducts and materials that are maybe being underutilised at present, or maybe achieving a lower value than they should. How can we cascade the use of these materials to achieve higher value? And then beyond that, we need to discuss with the primary producers, we need to discuss with the consumers, we need to discuss with the public how we introduce the bioeconomic model into what's already going on in Ireland. And I suppose the consumer as well as the producer has a big role to play in this, in that your purchasing idea to buy bio-based products can really influence what's produced in the system. So I suppose from the Department of Agriculture's point of view, our primary concern is of course with the primary producers and the agri-food industry. So we want to, first of all, with the policy statement, signal to them from our perspective, here is an opportunity, we'd like you to strategically consider it, we'd like to put together the group, how they're going to work together, and then beyond that I think we have to roadmap out what the future is going to be for the bioeconomy on top of what we do already.
So farmers are some of those producers you're talking about, obviously, and how can they take part, and how, I suppose, can they benefit? What is the outcome of having a new unified policy to them?
Well, I think for farmers, for foresters, there's a very clear signal coming, for example, in the new CAP communication. So we see there where it's been proposed that for circular economy and bioeconomy, there needs to be an analysis of the value chains and the business models. So we need to tie together all the players across the value chain, starting from the primary processor to primary producer to the processor to the market. So who are the people what are the brands that want to bring bio-based materials into use in their products, and who are the consumers that are buying this, and pull this chain together so that we develop the market as well as the science and technology, and as well as activating people along in the supply chain, essentially. And we need to use the system. There is opportunities where we fund farmers to carry out different activities. We can activate the system, that there's standards and certification in place to support the system. There's opportunities on the demand side to put tools in place like public procurement, maybe product labelling, and different types of opportunities like that. And that's why there's a whole set of different departments, there's a whole set of different agencies, there's a whole set of different industries, and we're going to tie in with the public and the primary producers being one of the main people in the public to talk about how we should develop this.
You're listening to the Irish Farmers Journal podcast.
Finally, let's listen to some country music from County Monaghan. There is a twist to this story. The money raised by the whole family through album sales goes to local charities. Anne O'Donoghue of Irish Country Living tells me more.
This is a really interesting story, Thomas, because it's a real show of community spirit here in Monaghan. They live quite near to Cavan also. It's a mother and son duo, Laura and Ian Hall. They live just outside Clones, I think it's Scottstown. And they got the idea anyway that they were going to sell CDs to raise money for a number of different charities. It all came about, Laura's sister unfortunately died 20 years ago from cancer. So they were having her 20th year anniversary, and Laura really said, she wanted to give back to these charities that had helped her family. So she said she always loved singing, but she even admits herself she was slightly nervous. She would have sang in the local choirs and things, but never really kind of out solo. But that really gave her the push. She really wanted to do this good deed. So she decided that, she was going to record the CD. So she went on and did so. And she started to raise money, and then her son Ian decided that he also wanted to raise money for some causes close to his heart. He's a past pupil of the Holy Family School in Cootehill, and he's also a member of the Irish Club Monaghan. So he went on and he recorded his own CD. They did a number of duets as well, and in the end they ended up raising €9,000 for charity.
Wow, 9,000. So you say CDs are dead, but they're not at all.
No, we're selling them at €10 ago. So they sold about 900 CDs, and they're not stopping. They've recorded new CDs that they're selling at the moment.
Okay. And what kind of music is on the CDs?
They're primarily country music on the CDs. Laura's CD has some hymns in it, but they are big country music fans. Country music would be particularly strong in Monaghan and Cavan, so people were really, really supportive, and they said that they just can't thank the local community enough. They were really, really supportive, and that loads of people bought CDs off them.
Okay, so Anne, you have all the details in this week's Irish Country Living, and we'll listen to an extract from the music they sell on those CDs. Thank you. And this is Ian Hall and his family playing us out of this week's podcast. The sound engineer was Alice O'Sullivan. From me, Thomas Hubert, have a good farming week, and see you in the Irish Farmers Journal's print edition this Thursday and online every day.
The Irish Farmers Journal podcast, online at farmersjournal.ie and on iTunes every Thursday.